we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to hit this gavel so nobody jump, except me. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad that you're here to join us tonight. I want to excuse Councilman Garrity, who is out of town tonight and won't be joining us. And we will start out with an opening by Councilwoman Catherine Buse.
Thank you. In light of this Saturday being Flag Day, which is June 14th, I kind of was doing a deep dive into why we have that day, and I thought I would share. And Flag Day began in June 14th, 1777. The Continental Congress adopted the Stars and Stripes as the official flag of the United States, as a symbol that has come to represent our nation's unity, resilience, and ideals. And the tradition of honoring the flag began with educators and patriots in the late 19th century. And in 1916, President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed June 14th as Flag Day. It was later established by Congress as a national observance in 1949. And as I was, the flag, it means so much. We can all remember poignant times. Okay, we can all, I think all of us have had poignant times in our lives when we've seen the flag and it's meant something. I'm sure after September 11th, I think comes to mind, and they were able to raise the flag over the rubble. For me, it was as an 18-year-old kid, I was with my parents on the beaches of Normandy, and we came up on an American cemetery. And it moved me to tears seeing the flag there, and I will always remember that memory as I was so moved by seeing that symbol of our country, and also the symbol that it's become of patriotism and justice and courage for those that have defended it. So if we could all, on that note, I would like to lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd all please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for that, Catherine. I would accept a motion to approve for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, what about the minutes from the May 27th meeting?
Move to approve the minutes of May 27th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Okay, report of the county executive.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will have a couple of appointments later in the meeting, perhaps depending on later action, but don't have any right now. Do have a couple of updates on some other meetings. Recently, we had an airport board meeting last week, and we had some further discussions about whether or not to add an additional seat, and no decision has been made as of yet. So the airport board decided to continue having those discussions, and we'll have that on our agenda next time. But just to let you know, because if and when they do want to make a change, that request will come to this council and the Logan Municipal Council to make that decision. So it would be a recommendation from them. I also want to report we had a department head meeting yesterday with all of our department heads, and our department heads are doing a great job. Just really appreciate all of them. One of the things that was discussed there was the Air Fest. So we haven't had an air show at our airport in many years, but we're going to have one this year, this month actually. And it's being done in coordination with the State Aeronautics Conference. And that's kind of a big deal, I think, because we've been trying to get the state to host the State Aeronautics Conference up here in Cache Valley for a few years now. And we've succeeded in convincing them this is a great place to hold it. So on the 27th of this month, the State Aeronautics Conference will be held here in Cache Valley at Utah State with some events at the airport. And then the following day on the 28th will be the Air Fest. So it's a free event for the community, and there's information on the website. Just encourage everybody to come out to the Air Fest on Saturday, June 28th. Also had an opportunity to attend the Northern Utah Conference to End Violence, and appreciate all that Utah State does in cooperation with CAPSA and some of our staff as well, putting that together. Wanted to mention also a couple of other events. There's going to be a Nonprofit Funding Solutions Summit on June 25th. So if you know of any nonprofits who are struggling with funding right now, there's going to be some resources provided for them June 25th at the fairgrounds at the event center from 8:30 to 11:30. And we'll make sure a flyer gets out to everybody about that. We had our first, not our first, but first one in a while, fair and rodeo meeting this morning with about, I don't know, probably about 40 people there who are part of that committee getting our fair ready to go for this August. And I just want to express appreciation to everybody who helps with that effort. It is a large task to get everything coordinated. We have so many volunteers and committee members who help with that fair and rodeo committee. And we also have a new chair and co-chair of that committee this year, and they're doing a great job so far. Had a COG executive committee meeting yesterday, and we reviewed the letters of intent that were submitted from a number of communities who intend to apply for COG funds this year. It is a different process. Just to give you all a heads up, the process has been changed, and this will be the first year it's done this way, where the COG is going to recommend distributing 2 years worth of funds. So you'll see a lot more in requests coming through this time. I think, I'm trying to remember the number, but I think it was something like 27 million in requests. We don't have that much money available, but we will have some big requests coming through. So that's just barely starting the process of review through the COG, and no one's even applied yet. The very first step is they have to submit a letter of intent. So this was kind of an internal meeting where we determined whether or not they even qualify to apply, and many of them need to make some modifications to their proposal before they submit it. Also wanted to thank our Lieutenant Governor for coming up and visiting our senior center. As part of the Governor and Lieutenant Governor have been traveling around the state and getting input from citizens, and it was great to have our Lieutenant Governor here in our county visiting our senior center. We also had a visit from Senator Curtis, and I was able to accompany him on a visit to tour one of our local companies, and appreciate him taking the time to come up here and visit with us. We also had a Cache Community Foundation meeting last week, and our community foundation, if you'll recall, is a 501c3 that's affiliated with the county, and it was established to be able to receive donations as a 501c3. And we processed, one of the things we did is we processed a donation that we had received, $500,000 donation that was received by the foundation for the Sherwood Hills open space from one of our citizens who supported that effort. So as a foundation, we voted to donate those funds to Cache County. So that $500,000 donation is being sent over to the county's open space fund. So that will be showing up on our books soon. And the last thing I wanted to give an update on is the senior center study. We have engaged the services of VCBO Architects. This happens to be the same planning firm that is doing the recreation study, and we asked them if they could do this because we felt like maybe there could be some savings in the economies of scale doing 2 studies and having a lot of information already gathered for the recreation study. And it turns out that was true. Their bid ended up being less than half of what we had budgeted for that. I think we had $50,000 budgeted. We got $25,000 in grant money for that, and the current cost looks like it's $22,000 for that. So pretty good savings our department was able to get for that. And that concludes my report for this evening. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I have a couple questions.
Sure.
For the COG projects that people are going to apply for, what is the deadline for them to have make a decision and bring it to the council? Like, what's that process look like? You know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I think it's like October.
October. I thought it was
Later
quite a
in the year.
ways.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is just very early in the process.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Does anybody else have any questions for the executive? Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to item 6A. Sheriff Jensen.
Oh, I'll just say it then. Okay, well, thank you for letting me have a A couple of minutes of your time today. I was able to talk with some of you, Barbara, and those who were assigned to me from the council to talk about sheriff's office issues, and pay came up again as being another big problem with retention of staff. And I'll just give you some numbers. So since March, we've lost 12 people to different agencies: Ogden PD, Box Elder County, Highway Patrol, North Park, and Heber City. And I still have a couple who got backgrounds out to some of those other agencies. On the exit interviews and talking to them, why some of the reasons they're leaving, some of them are getting up to a $7 an hour increase in their pay. Some of the agencies don't participate in Social Security, so not that I don't know why you wouldn't want to submit to that, but as a young person, that's on top of the pay. There's another $300 or $400 a month that they get. Not paying any insurance premiums, no URS contributions by the employees. Basically, they have take-home cars they can take about anywhere they choose to live. A couple agencies are giving $7,500 cash signing bonuses, and one agency is giving $10,000 retention payments at $2,500 a month for 4 months. So that's the exit interviews and some of the reasons why folks are leaving. So in February and March, I lost a 12-year deputy to Box Elder, a 16-year deputy to Box Elder, a 10-year deputy to Ogden PD. In April, a 4-year deputy. Let me back this up. So the first one was a 12-year deputy who was certified in the jail and the courts, the 16-year deputy who was jails, courts, and patrol, a 10-year deputy who was jail, patrol, and probation, a 4-year deputy, jail and patrol, 11-year deputy to jail and patrol and was also an SRO, a 6-year deputy who worked all over the building, jail, patrol, investigations, a 5-year deputy, jail and patrol, and so far this month, I've got a 2-year deputy who's just leaving law enforcement altogether. That's not moving to an agency. I've got one who resigned, and I've got 4 who are currently in background with other agencies, with a couple of 20-year retirements coming later this fall. I wish I had this on a spreadsheet because it's actually kind of cool, but I want to talk about the wages a little bit. Because the county council and the county, since I've been sheriff in 2015, has been fantastic with the support that we've gotten from this body. So in 2015, our starting wage was $16.48, and there was really no rhyme or reason about how raises came. It's just whatever there was, that's kind of what it was. In some years, there wasn't anything. So in 2015 and 16, it was at $16.48. In 2017, it was $16.81. And 2017, 2018 is where we kind of started that STEP program for the sheriff's office, and it was a big leap to get us into the market that we're in. So we went from 1681 to 1835, stayed there till 2020, went to 1937, then another big jump in 22, just chasing the market thing again, went to 2250, 23, another pretty good jump, 2430. 24, 2756, and this year went from 2756 to 2811. That's kind of the history of the wages. Part of that is, like I say, in 2016-17 when we started talking about the STEP plan and put that forward. And really, I don't remember, it was probably 16 and 17 where the council actually adopted a wage survey program where we were at least looking at other entities, and there was a group of entities that the council were comfortable with us marketing against, and we've kind of followed that track and stayed there pretty well, and it's been beneficial because we have kept pace pretty well with the ongoing wages and stuff. The market, and Amy could answer this better than I. She gave me the market survey, but it's a little bit outdated because cities put their information in July and counties put it in January. So some of the data on that is a little bit old. But even with that, we fell pretty far behind in January. But But with the agencies that I just mentioned, I made phone calls to the chiefs and the sheriff of those to find out what their starting wages were, and that's about where it was at. Weaver County just gave a $10,000 retention bonus and a 15% increase, which will take them to $3,201 starting January 1st. Ogden PD, they're up over $32 an hour. They're paying year-for-year laterals. They're expecting another 10 to 15% increase in July, which would put them into the $35, $36 an hour pay raise, and they're paying $7,500 cash up front signing bonus to every employee. Box Elder County, I just got off the phone with Sheriff Potter. They just did some pretty big raises, and their starting range is going to be between $30.50 and $31.50 in January, which is $3 an hour more than what we're doing right now. And I don't want this to all sound like big doom and gloom, because it's not. It's been a crazy market. I hope that employees do research before they look at these other agencies. To me, the Social Security would be a big deal. It's not the money in hand today, but they see that as dollars in their pocket. And there's reasons why they're having to pay that much money. I know one of the counties, they gave up 6 or 7, maybe 8 full-time positions just to give raises, which put their coverage in the jail and on patrol at pretty scary numbers, because they gave away all their staff so they could keep the current employees that they had. Nobody can really tell me why Ogden's doing what they're doing, but they're out there, and I don't know how I don't want to keep pace with them. Part of all that, I don't want us to be Ogden. We're not Ogden City, nor should we be Ogden City, and we don't need to be dollar for dollar with Ogden City. But with that, who we've lost people to from Cache County are that basically Davis County North, and that's our pool where we're going to lose staff to. And it's not so much even the money part of it that's dragging them away. They don't have to leave their house in Cache Valley to drive to work. They can just drive the county vehicle to Ogden or Davis County, or I know one of Ogden's staff lives on the border of Idaho in Malad. I mean, that's hour plus away from work every day, and it's just those benefits they're trying to do to get staff to apply to Ogden. So that's the doom and gloom part of it. Maybe all of it's doom and gloom, I don't know. I don't think it's doom and gloom. There's always a money component to this, and I think that's the part we look at next. To keep us somewhere in the range of the current market that we're already in, and to kind of compete with what we're losing people to, I would propose a 10% increase would take our starting wage to $30.92 an hour. With that, that's 10%. That to keep us in market line with our step. To 10% would be for the deputies. To keep it so we don't get compression between the sergeants and lieutenants and deputies, to be a 3% for the sergeants and a 3% for the lieutenants. The sergeants, just because of how the market and the budget worked last year, they got a pretty big jump last year, the sergeants did. So I don't say 3% to keep them artificially low. I think some of them, just because of how it works, some of them got a 6 and 7% in January that kept them pretty high in their market ranges. So what does all this cost? So I had finance send me the payroll for 2025 just from my office. I pulled out everybody other than the sworn staff and just calculated their salary and benefits only, and that's for the full-time only, no non-sworn or part-time staff. With that, salary and benefits total was let me get to that slide. $1,500,533 year cost for salary and benefits to do the 10%, 3%, and 3% that I just discussed. An option I want to propose to the council tonight is doing a mid-year increase for the sheriff's office starting in July. The cost of that would be about $750,000, and I can take most of that just in my current budget without any new funds. And let me explain where that comes from a little bit. So with the numbers from finance through April, which is 33% of our budget year, we will have unspent $1.5 million just in salary and benefits alone because of the holes we had from January through April. And that number is going to get bigger just for the holes that we're going to have between now and whenever we can get staff hired. So in perspective for the whole office, so through April, patrol was 7% underspent in wages and 10% underspent in benefits. Criminal was 7% underspent in wages, 10% in benefits. Support services was 4% underspent in wages and 9% underspent in benefits. And corrections was 8% underspent in wages and 11% underspent in benefits. So just in unspent wages, the money's there to do something mid-year. Now, when I talk to Barbara and those, I understand this year that I can take care of that in my own budget, but that's a $1.5 million ongoing cost that would go into the 2026 budget and forever after that. So let me talk about budgets and my budget specifically, where I think that I can probably do most of that in-house without having to ask necessarily additional funds from the council. So historically, since 2020, I've given back to the general fund about $1.5 million a year just in unspent funds. Most of that is coming from salaries and benefits that didn't get used, or cars that didn't come in, or ammo that didn't get bought, operational type stuff. But most of that is salary and benefits. So in 2020, I gave back $1,035,000. In 2021, $3.4 million. 2022, $509,000. That was the year of the impound facility, and I understand why that was a little bit less. 2023 was $1.3 million, and 2024 was $1.4 million. Came back to the general fund. Also with that, the revenues from my office are increasing as well, and they have for a long, long time. Just for example, the Sheriff's Association the last 5 years has done a ton of work with the legislature to get us on an even keel with what the state's paying for inmates in the jail. So in 2020, they were paying $53.93 a day. Today, with our formula, we're at $84.52 a day, and we'll see a 5 to 7% increase every year. The state daily rate increases. The federal inmates, 2020, they were paying $59 a day, and today they're paying $91 a day. That contract is due at least to be relooked at. You can only apply for that upgrade every 3 years. This is the last year of the 3-year contract, so we'll see an increase in the federal inmates as well. So in 2024 overall, that's the revenues, all my contracts. In 2024 the revenues were almost $7.3 million. 2025 was 8.1, and 2026 looks to be about $8.6 million in revenue. So there's about a $500,000 or $600,000 increase with the revenues. Also, it's budget time again. To me, the wages are most important. Our employees are the most important thing that our sheriff's office has. Without the employees, the cars don't matter, the jail doesn't matter, investigations doesn't matter, school resource doesn't matter. We can't do any of that without the employees that we have. And we have fantastic employees. I don't blame employees who are chasing dollars. A person's got to do what they got to do to what's best for their family, and I don't know all the reasons behind their decisions. But we've lost 12 people. We still have 200. And those 200 are willing to stay here, to make a living here, to want to work here. And those are the ones that my priority. They're the ones that I'm always going to be concerned about. My biggest priority are the people who want to make a career at Cache Valley and stay here for the next 25 or 30 years as they chomp through their career. I do understand. It's a lot of money, and I get it, and I was hoping at some point we could not have to talk about wages year after year. I was hoping things would have somewhat plateaued. We saw a little bit of difference last year, at least on paper, what they reported. We didn't see the big jumps. That's why when compensation committee, we didn't see those big, huge asking increases, because we were pretty stable in the market that we were compared to. But just the 5 agencies closest around us, $5, $6, $7 an hour more at any spot than we're sitting right now. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that I can.
Does anyone have questions for Sheriff Jensen?
Silence, I just like
Appreciate everything you do.
everybody choking.
No, we're grateful for the heads up, especially as we look towards our, doing our budget for next year. And I, for one, am in support of helping you get through this and make it so that we can keep our department whole. I think that's probably what you're looking for tonight, is just the support to move forward with our HR person to get all those.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, and I guess that my concern I had when I talked to you guys, it's one thing that I can do it this year because I already know what's not going to be spent in the budget. I just want to know that there's no surprises to any of you when the budgets roll around in August and September, when you see this huge number and not know where that came from or what that means. So I don't need a budget opening if it's okay this year, because I can do it within my budget. But I don't want there to be any surprises to the council when budget time rolls around, why that's such a huge increase in the number.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have a question? Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Sheriff.
If I can be excused, my wayward daughter's in Bear Lake for the summer, and I got her broken car I'm taking back to her.
Okay.
I might just take the car and bring her back with me and bring them all home, but
We will excuse.
I'll be outvoted on that one too, so. Okay,
Okay.
thank you, everybody.
You bet. Okay, next on our agenda is the Bear River Health Department. Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Council. Real quickly, just coming before you to, in accordance with the interlocal agreement, to seek the appointment of a behavioral health director under the new interlocal agreement between the three counties. I would ask the council to consider Josh Barson as that individual to serve as the behavioral health director. He's a licensed clinical social worker. He's worked with the department for 3 years and 9 months. 3 of those years, right when he got to the department, we recognized a strong leader in him and put him in some leadership functions in our clinical space. Been really pleased with him. He has total 9 years of experience as a licensed clinical social worker, both with youth. He focuses primarily on substance abuse and also has a private practice that he runs. So has a broad scope of practice. And he's already been supporting this work. I've already asked him to help out, and my experience with him as he's jumped in is that he's not afraid to find the answers to questions that we don't understand. As we've gone through this, we found a lot of those, and he's been willing to do that. So I've asked him to serve in that pending his appointment by the 3 counties.
Okay, I would entertain a motion on that appointment.
I will make a motion that we approve the appointment of Joshua Barson as Director of Behavior Health.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. Okay, Angie.
Good evening, Angie Zetterquist, Interim Director, Development Services. This item before you is a request to extend a RAPS award that was given in 2022. We had different personnel in place there, and this project and the second project both encountered a lot of difficulties and obstacles that had to be maneuvered around. In particular with Deep Canyon, there was a plan in place in 2022 to build a trailhead at the lower section, the eastern section of the road. And then different stakeholders had conversations and wanted to change locations to a more westerly location that was more immediately adjacent to the trailhead. So that caused some delays. And then during the budget opening in March, we realized that those line items had been taken out of the trails budget because it was assumed that the expiration date was December 2024. But these projects are active and ongoing. And this particular one, the Deep Canyon Trailhead, should be substantially complete by the fall this year. It may be delayed for a final project completion in the spring, worst case scenario, 2026, just due to asphalt being our last step in the project to lay down for the road that provides access to the trailhead. But again, it was recognized just earlier this year that they had expired, but the projects are ongoing and the next steps are clearly laid out. And so we just wanted to request an extension, a formal extension on that, just to ensure those funds were still available to complete the project. Again, either fall or spring of next year.
Okay, thank you. I would accept a motion to approve both of those. I think we could do them in one motion.
Yeah, I got a question.
Perfect.
How much has the project deviated from what was actually put into the application for the RAPS committee to look at?
I don't believe there was a particular project in place at the time. Emily might be able to help me with this. I believe it was a feasibility study and getting grants in place, but it was at the time, I believe there were 3 options laid out, so all options were available. The initial decision was to choose the lower, more easterly location at the bottom of the hill. And then, like I mentioned, there were discussions with different stakeholders that it made more sense to have it at the closer to the actual entrance to the trails, including Wayne's Loop. So that changed everything and shifted it to the top of the hill, and so that also triggered road improvements that would be required, things like that. So we've been working with different departments to coordinate those improvements as well. So I don't think deviated is quite the right word. I think that all 3 options were available. They just changed their mind. So.
I noticed the amended mayor is here. Do you have any input on this, Mayor?
We were one of the stakeholders that suggested it be higher. It just made more sense to us. The city owns the property, and it's further away from one of our major water sources. That was a concern for us, that lower. So the upper made a lot more sense.
You're good with how things stand now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We just had a meeting, feel really good with the target, the way things are going.
Okay, anybody else have questions for Angie? Okay. I think we could motion both of these together, or do you want to take them separately?
Let's do them separately.
Let's do them separately. Okay, I would accept a motion for item 6C.
I'll go ahead and make a motion on the Deep Canyon Trailhead Project RAPS grant that we approve it as was presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
And if you'd like, Chair, I can provide a little more context about the 800 West if you want more information.
Please.
So this project actually started out in unincorporated county. It's actually just a small segment from Zollinger's, 1700 South, south into Nibley to connect that from the Nibley Trails to the Blackhawk facility in Logan. Since then, it's no longer an incorporated county. It's now owned by Logan and Millville, those areas. So that's one of the complicating factors. And then just when we think we're at the next step, they discovered a water line under the proposed trail, so that will need to be moved. So there's just a lot of components that have complicated what seemed like a very simple project, but we're still on track.
What was the original date on that RAPS award?
I think also 2022 with an expiration of December 24.
And how much was it for, do you remember? The grant amount?
I do not have that. Emily, do you know the amount? 200. It was part of a larger package of other funding sources. So I think overall, if I recall, the project itself is just over $1 million. But yeah, the RAPS portion was about 200.
Is the trail going to be built on the east or the west side of 800 West?
It is on the east side. So yeah, there had to be some land acquisition or easement acquisition. So that's moving forward. There was one property owner who I think voluntarily gave the easement. The other one property value needed to be appraised for that easement and paid. And then after that, it was when a water line was discovered that hadn't been previously found. So we're working through that currently.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have questions for Angie about this extension?
I just feel that we ought to, even the county needs to be held to the same standard that we hold up all other entities that get their reward. 2 years, and for things just to kind of, we need to do what's, I guess we need to keep up on those things and not let them lapse, and then come back for forgiveness, so.
Yeah, and I would say that our current Trails team has been a great job of spending all of the funds on time and haven't had to ask for requests until these two, unfortunately, this year.
Does anyone want to make a motion about,
I'll move to approve the extension of 800 West Regional Trail Phase 2 RAPS grant.
you want to second that?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
You got that, Bryson? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Angie. Okay, 6E, establishing a study committee to review the form of government. This was one that we had talked about earlier in the year, and we need to make sure that we do that by a formal motion. I would accept a motion on that.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I move that we establish a study committee to review Cache County's form of government per Utah Code 17-52A-302.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
As we do this motion, it's not knowledge, or we're not pending on anything as far as who's on the committee, is that correct?
No, this is just to establish the committee. We'll talk
Okay.
about who's on the committee after this.
That's all the questions I have.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the study committee. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Okay, Madam Chair, Nolan came up with the question of about, who we would like on that committee. I move that Jordan Mathis and Jack Draxler be included on that committee.
the two appointees from the county.
Two appointees.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we appoint Jordan Mathis and Jack Draxler as the two members of the committee from the council. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And this is along with COG's
Yes, so
recommendations.
there have also been 3 members that were approved by the COG and submitted by Mayor Craig Hidalgo, and those 3 names, I'll just say who they are, we don't have to vote on them, but it's Mayor Ed Bust, Mayor Brian Cox, and Mayor Blake Wright. And I know that Ed Bust and Blake Wright are here with us tonight. We appreciate you being willing to serve on that committee. Andrew has a folder that he can give to you if you need to leave, or if you want to hang around and listen to us, you're welcome to stay. But we appreciate all of that. And
Madam Chair, in conjunction with this motion, this agenda item, we need to establish that they have access with Andrew to be able to be a resource for them. So I move that we assign and direct council staff member Andrew Erickson to serve as a staff of the study committee and providing necessary services or resources on behalf of the county council for the operation of the study committee per the requirements of state law.
okay. And I just want to clarify that Andrew will help them to be staff support for them, but he won't take any direction from anyone on the council. This will be something that he's independent and works for that committee.
So I'd second that amendment,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
So, okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we appoint Andrew to be support staff for the study committee. Those in favor say aye.
Can we have discussion?
Yes, sorry.
So should we, or is there any concern in limiting how much time they occupy in Andrew's schedule?
No. I mean, yes, there is a concern, and hopefully we'll have to deal with that as we go to see if it,
Yeah, we would have to do that up front
Yes.
as far as a cap. If we were going to say limited to only a certain amount of time or not to impair or interfere with his current responsibilities, et cetera.
okay,
Otherwise, I could see this taking a lot of time.
yes. I see what you're saying. I don't know quite how to make a cap on that. We could say that it obviously needs to make sure it doesn't infringe on his duties that he does for us. The committee will only be meeting up in, probably for the next 5 months. I don't know, Mark, what would you suggest on that? Because I'm open to that discussion.
As far as a cap, I would suggest that it be probably no more than an hour a day, whatever we want to equate that to, because
Okay.
we don't want to burn out Andrew on
Should we say no more than
this project.
That would be, how about if we say no more than 15 hours a month?
Yeah, that's
Would that be acceptable?
cap.
Okay. Does everyone feel good with that amendment to Catherine's motion?
Amy must not.
Like Amy has a.
Amy?
Could I make a suggestion?
Yes, please. Help us through this.
Since Andrew is an hourly employee, you may want to consider not allowing him to go above and beyond that 40 hours so that you don't go into the overtime that we would have to pay.
Perfect. Let's just say that I agree with that you don't go into any overtime. Okay.
So limit 15 hours a month and not to encumber the county on paying you overtime.
Or to infringe on the duties that he already has. Okay. Can we accept that as an amendment to the motion? All right, any further discussion? Okay, someone want a second with that amendment?
I'd second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we allow Andrew to serve as the support staff, not to exceed his 40 hours a week and infringe on his current duties. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
I just want to make sure that the 15 hours a month is included in that, too.
okay, thank you. Okay. All right, it's time for our public hearings.
Just wanted to say, I think there's also the agenda item of providing the county executive formal notice of the establishment of the committee.
Yes, there is. That's a part of the process. This committee is set out very clearly in state code, the steps that have to be taken. It's not something that is, that's just gonna be on the fly. There's specific things that have to happen, so we will take care of those things.
Yes, and now that I've received this, I will convene the first meeting within 10 days.
Perfect, thank you. That is another requirement, that they meet within 10 days now, so you guys are up and running. Okay, we next have our public hearings. I would take a motion for 7A.
Madam Chair, I move to set the public hearing for June 24th, 2025 at 5:30 PM to discuss Resolution 2025-27, opening the 2025 budget.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we set the public hearing for June 24th for Resolution 2025-27. It's been moved and seconded. Does anyone have any discussion? Okay, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passed. Okay, now we need to hold a public hearing for the special budget opening. Are you handling that one, Andrew, or?
So we have we have two public hearings for the same budget opening?
They were separate.
No, this is a separate one.
this one's special.
This was a special one.
This one's special, gotcha. And next one is regular budget opening.
Yeah,
Okay. Madam Chair, sorry.
This one would just be moving $2 million
yeah.
with the open space funds, I believe.
Yeah.
So this one is for, to move the $2 million we have to do a budget opening so that for the purchase of the land that we approved. And then it will be replaced by the Open Spaces Fund, the bond that we had. So this is a public hearing. If there's anyone here that would like to speak to to this motion, you're welcome to come and speak.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second?
Moved and seconded, we close public hearing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Thank you. All right.
I have a question, and this is, sorry if I didn't bring it up in the public hearing. So, do we have, how much did we bond for again when we?
Well,
How much
the first
did we go
tranche was
The
6.
first tranche.
6 million.
6 million, and of that 6 million, we spent 7, but didn't spend, how, I'm trying to
Give us
think
an
of the
update
dates.
on where we're
Yeah,
at.
I'm sorry, this is putting you on the spot, but, and maybe
Yeah.
finance could
Yeah,
help
let me
with
see, I
that.
haven't talked about these numbers in about a month, but let me see if I remember what they all were.
Then we got almost 700,000 in interest.
Voters
Yeah.
approved a $20 million bond. We did a little over a year ago, the first tranche of that for about $6 million, just under $6 million. And then we made a purchase of $7.5 million of open space at the Sherwood Hills land. Of that $7.5 million, we first used our $6 million that we had bonded for because we needed to spend that as soon as possible because we actually had been holding it for too long and could have been facing some penalties because it was a tax exempt bond. We were earning more interest on it than, or we were earning more interest from the bank than we were paying on it. The IRS doesn't like that. So we needed to spend that first. So we spent that money first. And then we also had some open space money that we were able to use and some general fund dollars to make up the rest of the 7.5 million. And the other open space dollars we had were the Greenbelt rollback dollars that we had been receiving. And so with that purchase, we also are scheduled to receive about $3 million in contributions from other agencies. So of the 7.5 million, there was a $500,000 private contribution, which I mentioned earlier, that was contributed to the Cache County Community Foundation and now has come into the county budget. And then we are anticipating receiving $1 million in contribution from Wellsville City, which is their participation in the purchase. And they also applied on behalf of this project to the state of Utah for a $2 million grant, which they received for this project. So Wellsville will give us their $1 million contribution plus the $2 million in state grant funds to us, which will ultimately end up with us spending about $4 million of our open space funds toward that $7.5 million purchase after we receive that $3.5 million in additional contributions from the state, Wellsville, and the private individual. So, but we will have already spent those bond dollars, so this money that we get will just go into our open space fund with the Greenbelt rollback dollars. And those dollars actually, I can't remember the name of the bill that Casey Snyder passed in the last session that now allocate 100% of Greenbelt rollback dollars to open space. They will come to the county. I looked at the last 5 years of how much was generated, and it was nearly $1 million a year on average in Greenbelt rollback dollars. So going forward, assuming that continues, and that varies from year to year, it all depends on how much Greenbelt land is taken out of Greenbelt, but assuming that average over the last 5 years continues, we could, over the next 20 years, receive $20 million in Greenbelt rollback money that is to be used for open space. If that's the case, we may or may not need to bond for the additional $14 million that's available. That's a decision we'll need to make at some point if we want that or need that. And I think we should make that decision based on the demand. At the current moment, there's not a ton of demand coming through the COSAC with additional projects. There are a few that are going through the process, but none of them have completed the process yet. So does that answer all your questions about that?
Yeah, I was just wondering how we were going to put this back into our general fund, but you answered that.
And this, just to clarify, this $2 million is being appropriated for an additional land purchase, so this is not refunding, or this actually has nothing to do with that previous purchase of the Sherwood Hills. This is for a new purchase of open space land. And so
is that, since we do a budget opening for it, is it
So that we
completed?
can, so that,
Have we completed that transaction?
So that transaction cannot be closed until this budget approval is given. Once this budget approval is given, then we can close on that transaction.
And make that transaction public.
Yeah, and I've talked to the broker today about scheduling a closing for this Thursday.
Oh, okay.
So that would be our plan, assuming that this is approved this evening.
Thank you. That helped.
And then, so we do have essentially a loan is what this is from the general fund to the open space fund, in addition to the amount that was loaned previously. And we could pay that back either with the Greenbelt rollback dollars or with additional bond proceeds.
And we'll decide that in our regular budget opening
Decide that through the regular budget process.
Okay.
It's all just a matter of timing on,
Yeah.
Yeah.
on the big picture stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 8A, ordinance 2025-17, transient room tax amendments. Yep.
Is this broken?
Yeah, I can't get any of the TVs to turn on, so. Yep, tried everything that I can, so I apologize, but
Did you say please?
I'll try that next time. So this ordinance is ordinance 2025-17. It's making an amendment to the transient room tax under Cache County Code 3.76. So the state legislature recently passed HB 456 to increase the minimum rate for the transient room tax. This ordinance would essentially increase a transient room tax from 4.25% to 4.5%. Anyway, that 0.25% is needed to essentially apply for a new state grant that's being opened up as it relates to helping out with visitor, trying to remember the correct term.
Search and rescue.
Yeah. Anyway, the only way to be eligible to apply for that grant is to adopt the full 4.5% transit room tax. So that's how things stand. That grant can be used for promoting tourism, recreation, film production, conventions, helping out with maintaining tourism or recreation-related facilities, mitigating impacts of recreation, tourism, and conventions through support for emergency services, law enforcement, road repair, et cetera. Anyway, that grant and this tax could be used for those things. I believe that is a good summary, unless you would like, I know you know more about all this stuff, so if you want to.
I'd like to clarify.
Yes.
Yeah, please, Julie, thank you. State your name, please.
Thank you. Julie Hollis Terrell, I'm the director of the Visitors Bureau. When this potential bill came up in the legislature, UAC asked us to do, each of the counties, to do some research and talk to our emergency services people to find out what kind of issue this was for each county. So I talked to Chief Hammer and I also talked to Sheriff Jensen and talked to them about what kind of impacts they're seeing on search and rescue efforts for tourists who are staying overnight in our hotels up in the mountains. I spoke to them individually, and each of them assured me that it's not even relevant for our county. They said the tourists that they're searching for and rescuing are people who are from the region who come here for the day and are stupid. So that is pretty much a direct quote. So I said to them, if this tax were made available, would you, because the way that it works is counties have to reapply, they have to apply for reimbursement that comes from the state. And they said it wouldn't even be worth their time. So the state passed an additional 0.75% tax. So half of that percent, that 0.5 of that, is going to go to the state for, they say, the Olympics, but it's going to the general fund, so who really knows where it's going to go. And then the 0.25 is what Andrew was referring to, and that will become a fund that is available for counties of the 2nd through the 6th class to apply for those reimbursement monies. In order to be able to apply, the county has to enact the additional 0.25%. But our county isn't in need and won't even pursue using those funds and that grant that's available. And so the hoteliers, whom I have talked to, and I sit on the Lodging Association board with them, you may have seen in the email that I sent to you, are very much opposed to increasing that tax. It does have to be used for establishing and promoting tourism, the same thing the transient room tax has already been used for. And so their preference would be to not have you enact that tax. that 0.25%, because they're already getting hit with a 0.75% increase. And this is also something that you can change in the future. If we decide, I've already had a conversation with Brady, and just told him, and I'll talk to the sheriff too, and have told them, if anything changes so that search and rescue becomes a demand because of tourists who are staying here, then yes, we certainly have to be using funds to do that. But for now, my recommendation in the opinion of the hotels is to please not enact that additional 0.25 tax for the county.
Thank you, Julie. I also spoke to Sheriff Jensen this morning, and he gave me those same numbers, that he said it's probably 95% of the search and rescue they do are for local people, and that he didn't see a need. And I just feel like with as many taxes as we all have, if there's one that we could do without, that my personal opinion is that we don't enact this as well, but it's open for discussion.
So my question is twofold.
Okay?
If our citizens from Cache County leave and go to another place, they're gonna see this tax, right?
In their hotel rooms.
Right. So are we missing funds that could sit here and go towards our search and rescue? I sat in planning and zoning on Thursday. The Beaver Creek Lodge has been sold. It's under new management. They've applied for some trails to go up there. The Forest Service is working on that. So maybe not right now will we need it, but I see the demand is going to be there. And so I'm looking at the fairness of, if our citizens leave and pay the tax, but we don't put that on people who are coming here, that's just a reflection of what I'm thinking. Plus the impact of, if you go to the canyon, if you go to the mountains in the summertime, let alone in wintertime, they are packed. Packed. And we all know what's going to be happening with Powder Mountain. It's going to add more stuff to us. So I understand what you said, Julie, but at the same time, I'm putting myself on the other side at this point right now.
And I think we can discuss that in the future if it becomes a need, because right now, it's not like the money would just be set aside for us. It would go back into our TRT. If we implemented the 0.25, it just goes straight back to the TRT fund for promoting tourism, which is also already a healthy enough fund, I think. And I think that to help the citizens in our county who own hotels, that their hotel owners are already getting hit with a 0.75% increase tax from the state that they don't have any say in. And so my thought is, if we can alleviate that 0.25 for now, knowing that if it becomes a need, the only way we could access those search and rescue funds is if for reimbursement. If there's actually something that happens that we have a big cost, then we could apply to the state for reimbursement. And we're not allowed to do that if we're not already implementing the 0.25 in our own county. So that's the way I look at it. That
Andrew, could you read again? I'm seeing a lot more uses than just what you mentioned. So read again the possible uses for that 0.25.
Okay. I'll read straight from the ordinance. Funds allocated from this tax shall be used exclusively for the purpose authorized in Utah Code 1731-2-3, including, but not limited to, establishing and promoting tourism, recreation, film production, and conventions, acquiring, constructing, or maintaining tourism or recreation-related facilities and infrastructure, mitigating impacts of recreation, tourism, and conventions through support for emergency services, law enforcement, road repair, and solid waste management, for making payments for bonds issued for such purposes, including but not limited to.
The law enforcement, and there are these other areas just besides tourist promotion, right?
Yep. Law enforcement, road repair, solid waste management.
Want to make sure that there is a broader aspect of use.
okay, anybody else have questions or things they want to talk about, ask questions, say what your opinion is?
This be an initial, I wouldn't mind just leaving it on there for a couple of weeks and
Continue that one.
I got a few more questions I'd like, from phone calls I'd like to make.
Perfect. Okay, I would take that does that need to be a motion? Nope, we just don't take a motion on it. Okay, thank you. Okay. Resolution 2025-20, Amy, this is the personnel policy.
With the screens not working, this first one is quite lengthy. Have you had a chance to review it through your media packet?
Yes.
So the first part of this on the interim acting pay, section U, has already been approved. But when it was approved to go into the, what's it called, Andrew? County Administration?
County Administrative Code.
Administrative Code? I can't remember. I can't keep them all straight. But since it is dealing with personnel, we felt it would be better suited to be put in the Personnel Policy and Procedures Manual. So that's moving U there. And then also with V, it's adding what those interim acting duties are and being outlined so that it's spelled out to those that may be in an interim acting position, what those duties entail or what those parameters are that they can act in. So I'm happy to answer any questions, or if you'd like me to read it, I'm happy to do that as well.
Amy, I had a question. Was this, in its entirety, how it's written, was it already approved for the other procedures manual?
So just
Or is there
you,
additions to this?
just you was, and that nothing has changed. That's just moving from one manual to the other.
Okay.
And then V is what the addition is into the Personnel Policy and Procedures Manual.
Duties.
Yes, the interim acting duties.
Okay.
And that has gone through Ordinance and Policy Committee and had quite a good discussion on it and was agreed upon with the wording where it's at now.
Okay. All right. This is an initial proposal, but if somebody wanted to make a motion on that, I would accept that.
I would move that we suspend the rules and pass Resolution 2025-20, amending the Cache County Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual, Sections 7U.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that one passed.
Can I just point out something? I
Please.
noticed in his motion that he said section U, but this includes U and V, and it's not on the agenda that way. So do we need to come back and present section V as well, or do we need to make a different motion?
Well, we had it in our packet, so I think we could just make a motion to include V, or, no, yeah, V.
Can we amend that motion
No,
since it's already passed?
No,
Okay,
But we can just make a separate motion.
okay.
But I would also like to point out that the motion was to pass the resolution, and since the resolution wasn't amended, technically, section V is also passed, but Amy is correct, I did not include that in the title, and I do apologize for that. So, it's up to you guys how to proceed.
I'll let someone else make the next motion.
Go ahead.
So are you just saying if we amend the agenda
Or amend the motion.
to state
That's what it
U
would be.
and V? I'd make that motion.
Okay, and I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we include sections U and V in the resolution that we are passing,
And maybe add the language as written in the resolution.
as written in the
In the
resolution.
resolution, it's just
Thank you, Mark.
the agenda has it wrong.
It's been moved and seconded. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks for keeping us on track.
I just don't have to come back if I don't have to. The next one, I believe, is me as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this is section 7 of the Personnel Policy and Procedures Manual, section S, and this is adding section A. It reads, if the employee is granted additional personal leave time as part of the hiring process and does not complete the orientation period, the additional personal leave time will not be paid out upon termination. So this has been talked about in Ordinance and Policy Committee. Basically, the background on that is with some of our recruiting tools that we use, we may front load some personal leave time, and then if people are leaving before their orientation period is up, our policy currently states that we would pay out all of that personal leave time, but the discussion was held that if they don't finish out that orientation period, then that additional pay that was used as that recruiting tool would not be paid out to them, only what they had accrued. So
Okay,
there's mud.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions for Amy about that one?
Move to suspend the rules and pass Resolution 2025-21, amending the Cache County Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual, Sections 7S.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thanks, Amy. Okay, 8D. That's Andrew. Okay.
Okay. So this is Resolution 2025-25, which establishes the Cache County America 250 Committee. And I was told by someone from the state who is involved with the America 250 celebration effort that one of the requirements of this is that I have to read this in public. Well, someone does. If you guys would like to, that's up to you. But since I'm already up here and have it printed, I'm assuming that I should just do it. But with your approval, Madam Chair, I can read the resolution. Okay. Resolution 2025-25. A resolution establishing the Cache County America 250 Committee. Whereas the 250th anniversary and founding of the United States will be celebrated on July 4th, 2026. Whereas, along with other local and state governments around the country, Cache County intends to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States of America. Whereas, in planning the Cache County America 250 celebration, Cache County intends to work in collaboration with cities and towns, local chambers, educational institutions, faith-based organizations, and other similar entities. Whereas, to coordinate the planning efforts for Cache County's America 250 celebration and to encourage broader community involvement, it is in the best interest of the county to create a planning committee to advise and coordinate the America 250 celebration in Cache County. And whereas the county council may pass all ordinances and rules and make all regulations not repugnant to law necessary for carrying into effect or discharging its powers and duties pursuant to Utah Code 1753 223-1. Now therefore be it resolved by the Cache County Council of Cache County, Utah, that Section 1, the Cache County Council hereby declares the intention of Cache County to participate in the America 250 Celebration Initiative as invited by the Utah Department of Cultural and Community Engagement. Section 2, the Cache County Council hereby creates the Cache County America 250 Committee, effective the day of the passage of this resolution. Section 3, the committee shall be comprised of 9 members who are each appointed by the Cache County Executive with the advice and consent of the Cache County Council. The committee members shall elect a committee chair and any additional necessary officers from among the committee's members. Section 4, to be appointed to the committee, the appointee must be a resident of Cache County. Committee members serve at the joint pleasure of the Cache County Executive and Cache County Council. Committee members serve for indefinite terms. Committee members serve without compensation. Each committee member is entitled to 1 vote. Section 5, the committee shall have advisory authority to plan and coordinate the America 250 celebration in Cache County. The committee may make recommendations to community leaders and organizations about celebratory events in connection with the America 250 celebration. In carrying out these efforts, the committee should work in collaboration with Cache County, local cities and towns, Utah State University, local federal partners, chambers of commerce, faith-based organizations, and similar institutions and parties. The committee shall also work in collaboration with the America 250 Utah Commission. The committee shall be charged with the responsibility of submitting a celebration/commemoration idea to the America 250 Utah Commission and/or the State of Utah's Department of Cultural and Community Engagement. The committee shall also coordinate with relevant authorities to negotiate a logo agreement with the State of Utah's Department of Cultural and Community Engagement. The Cache County Council shall have final authority to approve any agreement to ensure the legal creation and/or use of logos for marketing, merchandise, and related efforts. Section 6, Cache County shall provide staffing for the Cache County America 250 Committee. Section 7, the Cache County America 250 Committee shall automatically dissolve after the America 250 celebration has concluded. And that's it.
Cool. Andrew,
Do you guys have any questions?
any questions for Andrew on that? Okay, I would entertain a motion on
Move to
that.
approve resolution suspend the rules and approve resolution 2025-25 establishing the Cache County America 250 Committee.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded that we approve resolution 2025-25. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, all right. We'll
Madam Chair, if, now that the council has approved the formation of this committee, I would like to propose the first two appointees to this committee. And I would propose Councilmember Barbara Tidwell and Staff Member Karina Brown to be the first two members of the committee
Okay.
for your advice and consent.
So do we vote on that? Okay. So I would entertain a motion that we accept the first two appointees to the America 250 Committee as Barbara Tidwell and Karina Brown.
I move to accept said Barbara Tidwell and Karina Brown as committee members.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, E. Okay, this is the resolution on the budget opening for the $2 million that we talked about previously. I don't know if anyone wants to suspend the rules and pass that so that it can be closed on this week? Or,
It looks to me like that's not the only thing in that budget. Am I wrong?
I looked through it and I didn't see anything else in the amendment column besides that $2 million, but I went through it pretty fast.
Dave?
It,
It's just a listing of all of the full accounts as they would.
Yeah, if you look, like, there's no amendments in any of those, except for the 2 million. Did you find another one? Because I went through it.
No.
I thought,
but it's just an interesting kind of thing. It seems like a new format that we're seeing on this thing.
County auditor's here, maybe you could explain.
yeah, I think that with the finance department, this is a different format that, so that any account that has
could
an
be
amendment to it,
affected.
but nothing is affected besides the ones that are in the
In the first part.
the budget opening at the very beginning. But would you like to have Matt come up and we can ask our auditor to explain?
That'll be fine.
Okay. I would entertain a
I move
motion on
to
that.
suspend the rules and approve resolution, adopt resolution 2025-28, excuse me, -26, special budget opening.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we suspend the rules and adopt resolution 2025-26. Is there any further discussion about that? Any questions? Okay, those who are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, perfect. We are getting through this. Okay, Bryson, you're up. And we can't show any of those maps, can we?
I have good news.
What is the good news? We like good news.
We're gonna save some money.
Okay.
Very good news.
So our county, we have 165 precincts as is right now. Currently, we have 33 precincts with only 0 voters in them. All 33, there's 0. And then we have 20 precincts that have less than 10 voters each. So we have what we call ballot creation costs. So it doesn't matter if there's a voter in the precinct or not, we have to create that ballot and code it. So it's about $100 per precinct. So out of those 53 precincts, it costs us about $5,000 an election or $10,000 a year. And then when it comes to federal elections, it costs us about $15,000 a year, which is ridiculous. The reason why I'm here is because we have a recent law change that helps us with our unincorporated precincts. They don't have to be contiguous, but they just have to be touching a precinct. And then we can all kind of map it around that. So in the media packet, I guess the greatest example for that one would be Lewiston, because at that time, we had 3 separate precincts, but we now can combine those unincorporated precincts into one. I think there's a couple other examples too, Smithfield and Wellsville being another one. And then we have River Heights that would put us more into compliance. We had a split precinct. So it was really difficult when it comes to like a congressional district race. So our proposal is we're changing from 165 precincts to 125 precincts. And with this change, it's going to save us about $3,649 an election. And then when it comes to federal elections, it's about almost $11,000. So every 2 years when both major parties have a primary and then we have a general, it's about $11,000 that we'll be saving. And then we want to do the entire precinct map, But since we're in the middle of municipal elections, we can't touch incorporated precincts. So we're going to be coming back with another map around Thanksgiving, December, with even more savings.
Or will you be eliminating more precincts?
So what we're doing is we are just combining precincts. So there's a lot of these precincts that are like 2 people in them. And that's another issue we have is if you know those 2 people in that precinct, they really don't have a secret ballot if you can pull up the results per precinct. So that's another issue we're facing. So we want to make sure everyone has a secret ballot, even out in the unincorporated areas. We're not changing any boundaries, council, congressional boundaries, that's not our job. The only issue we have is we have one precinct, which is basically, well, it is just a field in Millville that was in a county school board, so we reached out to the county school board and they said they're okay changing a precinct to that boundary. There's no development in there and it makes it a lot easier for us, and then we don't have to pay an extra $100 for a field with no voters. So.
Bryson, have you worked with any of the local parties, the Republican or Democratic Party?
We're not allowed to.
Oh, you're not allowed to?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is independent of the
This is independent.
No, what I meant though was
Yeah.
like, they'll have to change their boundaries for their caucus meetings.
So this won't affect, the only thing will probably like affect caucus meetings is like unincorporated areas might be going to a different caucus that we checked, but it only affects 68 voters in general, including Republican and Democrat.
Okay.
Well, in every other party there is. Yeah.
Okay,
affiliation.
thank you. Does anybody else have questions for Bryson about these changes on the map?
My precinct really grew.
It did. That was the first thing we saw, like, well, Dave's precinct grew.
I got everything east of Crow Mountain.
Hopefully they're your
A lot more
friends.
walking to do.
No.
There's no one up there, though.
I know. No, I just, not a question, but a comment, just to say thank you to all the work that you guys put in to make these maps work out.
A big shout out to Naomi. She's out there right now, but she was the one.
I appreciate the effort that you guys went through in the clerk's office and the elections team to get this done.
Yeah.
Saving this amount of money per election is a big deal.
Yeah, and especially with the new changes, before we come asking for money, we're gonna see if we can save some first, so.
And then secondary in the savings, it'll also make it that much easier to process an election.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's only positives to this.
Yeah.
And so I think I just said thank you to the legislature also.
Yeah.
For passing a good bill.
Do you want to keep going and make a motion?
Yeah, happily. I'll make the motion that we propose that we suspend the rules and approve the resolution 2025-28 voting precinct boundary map amendments as proposed.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay,
Awesome, thank you.
Bryson.
Good job, clerk's office.
Thanks to all of you. We appreciate you. Okay, pending action 9A, Resolution 2025-23, the Dispatch Services Assessment Interlocal Agreement Amendment. We talked about this a couple meetings ago, and it's in your packet. I don't know if somebody wants to comment on that, or here's what we discovered. I know there was some, I wasn't here last meeting, but there was some discussion from the executive about whether we needed a separate resolution to amend our fee schedule. I think Andrew determined that we do need that. So this is just to say, this is just that we agree with the interlocal agreement with Logan City for to increase their costs, and then we will have to do a separate resolution or ordinance to assess that to our unincorporated.
Change our fee schedule.
Change our fee schedule. So that will be coming in the future. But I would entertain a motion on this. Or if anyone has any questions, I know that our Logan City Police people are here. Does anyone have questions about this agreement or anything they want to ask before we have a motion?
I thought there were some really good questions asked before. Catherine asked some really good ones, and I think the answers for those were quite detailed.
Yep.
Thank you.
Want to make a motion? Anybody?
Yeah, I therefore go ahead and move to pass Resolution 2025-23.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we pass Resolution 2025-23. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you for being here. Sorry you had to sit through that whole meeting. Okay. Okay, Catherine, do you want to take number 10?
Yeah. As you know, one of my goals was to try to get us together to do some type of social. I tried. I set out a availability for everybody, and we couldn't find a date. So I think now it's summertime, and it's glorious in Cache Valley in the evenings in the summer. I'd like to see if we could get together for some type of social event as a council. I think in the past, in previous councils, they've had one with the council and one with all elected officials. Just kind of wanted to open that up to see if we wanted to do. Summer, it's easier. We can kind of do potluck style. And all the elected officials, we could meet at, or if we wanted to just stay with the council. That's kind of what you guys wanted, what everyone here on council would prefer to do.
Anybody want to say their preference?
With the summer one, I kind of like having all the elected officials.
Let's do that. Okay. That sounds great.
Great to me.
Okay.
And I know summer gets out of control. We might push this till, I don't know, September, make life easier. It seems like a long way away, but it'll come really fast. I don't know, I'll send out another poll to see when people have availability, and we'll do potluck style and invite all the elected officials and have a good time.
Yeah, or if somebody has an idea they want to share with Catherine,
Yes,
please.
anyone has an idea, I'm all for socials and not great at planning them, so.
Okay, all right. We have the Nibley Heritage Days Parade coming up June 21st, which is a week from this coming Saturday. Andrew, do you have a list of people that have said they can come to that parade?
Specifically that one, no, but there's one thing that I do want to also announce.
Okay.
I did get an email from Hiram today for their 4th of July parade, and I was wondering if that's something you guys are interested in me registering for.
I think we always have, haven't we? Yeah.
Call that one in.
Yeah, don't we do
And the Lewiston one.
Hiram and Lewiston?
Call now.
Yeah, call now and get us at the front. We want to be at the front with their elected officials. We like to be in the front of the parade. Okay.
Yeah, put us in the front.
Question 2, we have the North Logan Pioneer Day Parade, but Logan City also has a
Yeah, we usually
Pioneer
do
Day
both of
parade,
those.
so we need to get that on there also.
Yeah, usually the North Logan one's at 9:30 in the morning, and then the Logan one will be at noon.
Right.
When it's really hot.
Yeah.
We'd like to have a wagon to ride in for that one, please.
Nice and
Avoid heat
hydrated.
stroke.
That was great.
Yeah, we were a little
Andrew, I
crowded in
will
that one.
be, I'll be at the Nibley Heritage Days Parade.
I can be there also.
I will be there too.
Planning on it.
Sweet.
Okay,
That's next Saturday?
Yep.
We can't get a shirt made in time.
I know. We're working on shirts. Yeah. Yeah, just so you guys know, Andrew has put together a logo that he's worked on and working on. As soon as he's done, we will go to a printer, a logo shop to see what it would cost to have shirts made, and then you can all choose whether you would like to purchase one. We won't take it out of our budget, but.
No polyester.
No polyester, please. It's gonna be cotton, it'll be 100% cotton. Okay, council member reports. Let's do this quickly and then we can get to our executive session. Let's start with Mark. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
No, nothing at this time. Just a couple things that have been going on, but no updates really to.
When is the next CEO board meeting?
We haven't set a date
Set a date,
yet.
okay,
We just had one 2 weeks ago, so.
okay,
But we'll get one in the 3rd quarter.
okay. Councilman Erickson.
Nothing, just lots been going on, but nothing to report publicly.
Okay.
Nothing to report.
Nolan.
You probably saw a email from Connor Smith talking about a joint meeting with the council and the planning and zoning.
Yes.
We need to consider that, and there are quite a few things we need to be talking about in that joint
Okay.
meeting.
Do we have any kind of a workshop on the 24th, Andrew? Set up?
Nothing solid. I know there was some thought about having a presentation on the Open and Public Meetings Act, but that's something that's not.
I know we keep pushing that out, but there's more important things, right?
The auditor also has a report of some sort he's been wanting to get the council to see. I don't know if you guys want to do that as a workshop or just an item of special interest, but that's up to you guys.
Okay, we can talk about that, but I think, would you guys all be up to planning a joint meeting with planning and zoning on the 24th, if that works for them? Nolan, would you see if you can?
Angie, can you contact the commissioners and see how they see on that?
Yeah, and just get back to Andrew about that, and we'll
Which,
see.
Brings me to a question, Mr. Executive, any names coming forth to replace our commissioner that's missing?
Which one?
Lane Parker is out, so he gave some names. We do need that person.
I don't have a
He gave
name.
you some names, didn't he?
Not that I'm aware of, but
That he
okay.
did.
Okay.
Angie, did he give them to you? Then I'm gonna call him and see
Check, maybe
what's
there's
going
an
on.
email somewhere that I didn't see.
So, yeah, we need that position filled.
Okay.
So, that's all I have.
Barbara?
Nothing to report other than O&P this coming Friday, and we're gonna have a lot of things to discuss in O&P.
Okay.
And, are you going to be gone?
Possibly.
Okay, all right. So, but
Okay.
yeah, that's all I have.
Seems like I am busy every single day doing stuff, but I can't think of a thing to report. Other than, we need another CPA to be on our audit committee meeting. The executive has had an announcement, or an opening out there for over a month with no applications. We tried to get somebody, but they were unable. So if anyone knows of a qualified CPA that might be willing to help with our audit committee, we really need to finish up that
What kind of
committee.
time commitment is that?
It's not very much. It's maybe, I think we met 3 times last year, 3 or 4. It's just mostly setting the external audit, unless we expand the duties of the committee, but so far it's mostly been in relationship to the external audit that we do each year. So anyway, I'll just put that out there, and you guys, if you think of anyone, have them get in touch with the executive. Okay. Anybody, and I need a motion on number 12.
So moved. Executive session, Utah Code 52-4-2051C, strategy session to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation.
We moved and seconded that we move to executive session. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.